So you're born and raised in the Los Angeles. Why did you move to Nagorno-Karabakh?
Thank you for the question, Nadik. It's an interesting question. There's, a short answer and a long answer. I am an Armenian whose family I was born in the diaspora, obviously. I was born in Los Angeles. My parents were born also outside of Armenia. My grandparents were also born outside of Armenia. And for none of us, this was not by choice. Unfortunately, my ancestors, they come from Western Armenia. They come from the city of Dikranagerd in modern day Turkey. They call it Diyarbakir. And after the genocide, all of my ancestors perished during the genocide. And there were a couple survivors, a few young children that made it through the deserts in Syria. And they were raised in an orphanage. Then my grandparents, my parents, and myself. That is how I came to be an Armenian that was born in Los Angeles, California. Now, being an Armenian that's born in the diaspora, there's always been a desire to return to my roots, return to my homeland, return to my ancestral home. Unfortunately, the Republic of Turkey, till this day, denies the crime of the genocide, and my ancestral home, Dikranagerd, is still under occupation. I was fortunate enough, we are fortunate enough as Armenians to have this small little parcel of land that represents 10% of what should be our true Armenia. And I came here on vacation. I left America on September, it was early September 10. And I got here to Armenia on vacation. I had purchased my ticket one way. It was COVID, my workplace was closed. And shortly thereafter, the war started. And I tried to provide as much help as I could, humanitarian relief to refugees and people that were being displaced from their homeland because of Azerbaijani aggression. There were people that I met during those 44 days that they themselves perished under Azerbaijani bombs and drone attacks. I can't really bring myself right now to leave these people, to leave my brothers and sisters, and just to return to my home. I feel like I'm on a mission and I have to do whatever I can in my own power to be by the side, to help out every single man, woman, child, newborn, elderly here that I can. Because unfortunately, at least if you look back during the last 120 years of our history, we're a neglected people and we could only depend upon ourselves. And I'm here right now and I can't abandon them.
On to the second question. Due to the blockade, food and medicine will not pass through Artsakh. What will you do if this blockade continues for more weeks? You have a small child. How can you take care of all those things, the basic necessities?
Thank you for the question. Now, the question seemed to ask me something because it was a little personal right there. Yes, I have a small child, but there's 120,000 Armenians here, 120,000 men, women, and speaking of child, here she comes, men, women, and children in this country. And there's people that have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 children. I can't only think about myself. Unfortunately, this is already a humanitarian disaster, what is going on right now. I can't just think about myself. I have to think about everybody. And if I want to think about the larger picture, the bigger picture, there's many things to consider. Now, you asked me if this blockade goes on and goes on. What is the natural response of any sentient being? Not just human being, of any animal. What is the natural response? We all have a survival instinct, whether it is an ant, a turtle, a bird, a dove, or a human being. All of us have a survival instinct. Now, I don't need to elaborate much, but if we are cornered and we are blockaded, which is what is currently happening, if our gas is shut off again, if fuel does not come into the country, if people run out of wood to heat their homes, what are people going to do? What is the only response that people can do? They are going to fight to survive. And I am merely one, or me and my wife and my child are merely 3 out of 120,000 people that will do whatever it takes to survive. And if people want to ask why didn't you leave? Why don't you leave? Why are you there? What if you had the opportunity to leave? Why should I? Why should I? Why would I? This is my ancestral home. It has been a land that belongs to Armenians, occupied by Armenians, inhabited by Armenians. We have a rich cultural heritage on this land, and there is no reason that I should leave simply because Azerbaijani terrorists want to block the roads and block my means of survival.
Yes, but what exactly will you do when you are short of, let's say there are food shortages, medicine shortages, and it's blockaded? It's not coming in. What are you going to do?
I will fight. I will fight.
With weapons?
With weapons, without weapons, with tooth and nail, whatever it takes. I will not leave this land. I will not leave my home simply because somebody is threatening me, simply because somebody is trying to terrorize our entire population. I would rather live on my feet than to die on my knees.
Thanks so much for the answer. This next question was sent to us by a follower on our Instagram. Why did you stay when you knew the risk of a blockade is high?
I stayed because it's my right to stay. I stayed because I have brothers and sisters, friends and family who have been living on this land for generations, for over hundreds of years. I stayed because I have no reason to leave other than the threats of a terrorist. Why would I leave? Why would I leave and go anywhere else? There is absolutely no reason for me to leave. If it's only about safety considerations, I'm from Los Angeles. I used to work in Inglewood. I think that it's just as unsafe working in Inglewood, where the chances of robbery, carjackings, thefts at the ATM, stabbings, murders are very, very high. And that is in a place that is in the so-called, like civil society and Los Angeles, California, United States of America. Yes, somebody can characterize this area, this land as a war zone. But this is a war zone because of Azerbaijani terrorists that are being enabled by global superpowers that have an addiction to oil and do not care about the humanitarian costs. Whenever countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Israel, not only send military support, not only send funds every single year to Aliyev's dictatorship, but also encourage them through other means. And they listen, if any other country in the world, okay, did the things that Azerbaijan is doing, not any other country, but if it's a country that's not, that doesn't pose a special profit for them, an opportunity for profit, right? For these global powers, all of them would be crying. All of them would be saying that we're going to sanction their leadership. We're going to shut down their economy, this, that, and everything like that. Okay? Now, you see what's going on in other conflicts in the world. There's some conflicts that are spoken about and some conflicts that are not spoken about. Why? Because there are vested interests. You have right now in Armenian land, in Artsakh, there's a gold mine, a copper mine, whatnot. Okay, you have British companies to whom Azerbaijan has already sold the rights to. Okay, you have that the Anglo whatnot. I'm forgetting the name right
Anglo
now.
mining,
You have
Anglo mining,
Anglo mining, all
Asian
right?
mining, yes.
Ayo, yes, perfect. Anglo-Asian mining. You have Azerbaijanis selling the rights to this British company, United Kingdom company. That land doesn't even belong to them. They're not even there. That is our land. We're here right now. We're living here, and they are buying those rights. You have these supposed peace activists, not peace, green energy activists, environmentalists or whatnot, shutting down this road. Isn't it ironic that these environmentalists are shutting down our natural gas supply and only limiting people to cutting down forests so that they could heat their homes? I mean, it's totally ridiculous, okay? You have the Israeli government backing up Azerbaijan during the war and even right now, selling them Harop drones and other military supplies. You have the Turkish government, the second largest army in NATO, doing military exercises mere kilometers away from us and saying that they're going to stay there until Armenia agrees to another corridor which almost completely cuts it off from the rest of the world as well. Not just Artsakh being cut off from the rest of the world, but Armenia. Armenians, Armenia, and Artsakh are consistently being blackmailed, and it is all because of foreign governments and dictatorships that we are surrounded by that aim to profit off of our natural resources. Everybody covets this land. We like this land. We love it. We don't love it because we want to exploit it for gold. We love it because this is our heritage, because this land itself makes us rich with all of its history and its entire past, with its churches, its monuments, its nature, and every single thing that has happened here during the last thousands of years that we have been living here. And I am glad that I myself, as an Armenian that was born in the diaspora because of the genocide, that after 3-4 generations living outside of my ancestral homeland, that I have returned and I have had a child, the first child in over 100 years to be born on Armenian soil.
Okay, so to summarize your answer to the question is, so basically, you knew the risk of a blockade is high, but you simply decided to stay, not leave, because it's your own land and you have no reason to leave.
My friend, I'll tell you like this. They could be aiming nuclear bombs at
No, I
my
can
city.
summarize your answer.
Ah, okay.
In fact, direct answer.
Direct answer. I will not leave. I don't care.
You're willing to stay no matter what. You are willing to
No
stay.
matter what, I will stay here. I will live here. I don't want to say that I will die here. I want to say that I will die in my true ancestral homeland in Western Armenia, in the city of Dikranagerd, that is still under Turkish occupation. But I will live here. I will raise my children here, and hopefully, over the time, the Turkish government will recognize this crime of the Armenian genocide. We will liberate our lands in Western Armenia, and I will live there.
Thank you so much for the answer. Okay, so this one is a question that goes both to foreigners, people who are Armenians and non-Armenians from all around the world. How can people, both Armenian, part of the Armenian diaspora, and non-Armenian, from all around the world, help the people currently suffering in blockaded Artsakh? Armenian, non-Armenian, just from the outside, help you and people like you who are suffering currently.
Now
due to the
look, we're
blockade?
human beings, they're human beings. We've seen this other times, we've seen it time and time again. Whenever foreign interests align with punishing a government that is doing something bad. Now, right now, there is an oil dictatorship, namely Azerbaijan, that is terrorizing the civilian population. The international community, whatever country somebody is in, every single country can impose sanctions and can put pressure on all of the people that are involved in this crime. We saw during the 2020 war that countries, namely Ukraine, sold illegal munitions, white phosphorus that was used by Azerbaijan. We saw Turkey and Israel sell drones that were used against civilian population, to strike against maternity wards and hospitals. Now, the sale of these arms should be sanctioned. Bank transfers, transactions should be sanctioned. Now you have Azerbaijan working to circumvent certain foreign pressures and selling gas to Europe. Europe does not want to sanction Azerbaijan because they are receiving gas from them. At what cost? 120,000 civilians? We have to pay the cost. We have to be subjected to genocide because they do not want to sanction Ukraine. We saw what they did to Saddam, what they did to Gaddafi. They could sanction, they could stop. They could put an end to all of this, but they choose not to. And we hope that through pressure from Armenians, from anybody else in the world, just human beings in whatever country they are, they call their representatives, they call their members of government, and they put pressure however they can. If they are in a country that is producing parts that are being used in weapons, that are being used against the civilian population, I would expect them to have a problem with that. If Azerbaijan is using those guns and those bombs and those drones to fire at a maternity ward, I wouldn't want that company to be doing work in my backyard. And just as simple as that, everybody can help by putting pressure on their own government. And if they want to help Artsakh not suffer the next round, whenever the Azeris decide to cut the gas line and cut the electricity line, there are many, many projects that they could help out with to help create a little bit of self-sufficiency over here, to create some green energy, solar panels, solar water heaters, greenhouses, and whatnot. But that's a secondary thing. Right now, we're fighting for survival. And once we get through this, we're going to try to create a nice little green economy over here that doesn't depend on that blood oil that Azerbaijan is profiteering from.
So to summarize your answer, the only way the average citizen, not the government, the average citizen can help is by putting pressure on their governments and by funding projects aimed for self-sufficiency. Summarize, to put it up in like short sentence.
I think so, my friend. I think so. You got that right.
Okay. On to the next question. So right now, there are almost 2,000 Russian peacekeepers right now in Karabakh. Do you genuinely feel protected by their presence?
Unfortunately, at the moment, right now, since the Republic of Armenia, led by Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, decided to pull out all Armenian soldiers and weaponry that were from Armenia, that were here to ensure the security of the Armenian population. And he chose to do that simply on the word, on a promise by the Azerbaijani government, on a promise by Aliyev. But we see that Nikol Pashinyan was fooled and that the Azeris lied. And right now, as we speak, the only thing between us and total annihilation total subjugation to genocide by a terrorist state, by the terrorist Azerbaijanis, are the Russian forces. Whether we are 100% happy, whether we are 100% pleased, it's not really a matter that should be discussed, because right now, this is the reality. The Russian peacekeepers are preventing genocide. Some people try to recommend, well, we should bring in NATO forces or European monitors, but we see that it's a joke, because EU monitors came to Armenia. They came to Armenia this last month. They were present while Azerbaijanis fired upon civilian villages, while Azerbaijanis attacked sovereign, recognized Armenian territory, and these EU monitors did nothing. They wrote their report, and the EU said that they're not going to renew that mission and that the monitors are not going to return. Okay, that's one. Second, when somebody tries to recommend that NATO forces come in, are those going to be the same NATO forces, such as the Turkish army that was backing up and partaking in the slaughters that were happening just 2 years ago in the war? No, sorry, I'm not interested in having those Turkish commandos that we have seen, that they themselves has videotaped themselves and put it on Telegram channels for us to watch and to be traumatized, watching Turkish commandos and Azerbaijani special forces, Yashma as they call themselves, beheading Armenians, cutting Armenians that are alive, civilians, soldiers, elderly, cutting their throats and beheading them and mutilating their bodies. Do I want those NATO forces to come in here and them to back me up? Sorry, please, save your energy. Stay where you are. I'm not interested, okay? Do I want to see for the next 1,000 years of the existence of Artsakh, do I want it to be protected by a group of Russian peacekeepers? No. The people of Artsakh, with their rights, with their constitutional rights, with their basic human rights, have voted for their right to self-determination. This was back 30 years ago. The people of Artsakh have done their part. They have said, we want to be an independent state. Okay. Second, they have said that our lives are threatened if we are in any way, shape, or form a part of the Azerbaijani state. We could see it again right now, today, as how Azerbaijan would treat us. Okay. We're not even part of Azerbaijan, and these guys are blocking off our gas, and they're trying to say that in the future, these people, these Armenians here that are inhabiting their native lands, they are part of Azerbaijan, and we will take good care of them. My friend, I don't think that they are going to treat us any better down the road than they are today. They want to kill us, they want to behead us, they want to annihilate us, and there is no way for Artsakh to exist. The 120,000 Armenians that are here will be totally subjected to genocide, and the only way we can survive is as an independent state. For the time being, we have Russian peacekeepers here, and we appreciate their presence. People want to criticize them. That's fine. Everybody deserves criticism. Everybody. I myself deserve criticism. Everyone. That's fine. It's through criticism that we become better, that we better our actions, and we move forward. So criticism is fine, but to think that the European Union and the European countries that are praising Azerbaijan as a great humanitarian state simply because they want oil from them are going to somehow come here and save us is delusional.